Welcome back on the channel, my friends. So in this video I'm going to share with you some of the most active when it comes to volume liquidity pools on ORCA or on Solana right now. I like to use ORCA. You can go with other DEXs, but I would recommend ORCA. And these tokens have been recently actually outperforming Bitcoin. So this goes to show even on a bear market or when Bitcoin is having a dip, you can still find really good opportunities. Some of these I will mention will be on the real world assets category. You can check all of that on if you use, for example, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, tools like that. You can see you can have the categories here that actually organize different tokens into different categories, and there will be different narratives behind each of these categories, right? But I will give you right now a list of the tokens that have been performing extremely well in the past few months. Some of these I've been yield farming for the long term. They have been working out really good, even with wide ranges, in the 40, 50, 60% range. So this is, in my experience, what has been performing very well, even with the recent dip in Bitcoin. ORCA, and I'm gonna pair it with USDC because I like to yield farm these pools in the long term. You can have really high yields, ORCA paired with Solana, or any of these tokens on the list that I'm sharing with you. You can pair it with Solana and have really high yields. But in the event that both tokens go down, you will see a massive hit in the value of your portfolio. If you don't mind that, go ahead and farm it paired with Solana, right? Now, ORCA with USDC, I'm actually farming this pool in the 0.3% fee tier. You can choose other pools with higher fee tiers, but these are the ones that have been performing best in yield and also in volume, I think. So yeah, in any case, ORCA has been doing really well. Even looking at the grand scheme of things, and we see this support level here, very close to $1.50, and this is a dip from this support level down to $1. It happened in the whole span of 11 days, went down 30%. But this might not be a bad thing. You see, when you farm for the long term, if you manage to get this inside your range, all of this volatility inside your range, you're actually going to accumulate more and more as the token drops in price, because if it drops in price, it loses value. People need to use more to buy dollars. So if they're spending, for example, 10 ORCA to buy $1, you get 0.3% of that 10 ORCA, right? And on the other end, if ORCA goes up and then you only need 1 ORCA to buy $1, you get 0.3% on 1 ORCA whenever people buy $1. So the token going down in price, if you're bullish about it, it's actually a good thing because it allows you to accumulate. And then the better is yet to come if it bounces back up. So ORCA is a solid token. It's a major DEX on Solana. It's infrastructure. I told you about that in past videos. Infrastructure, it's among the safe-ish plays you can get in crypto. ORCA has been around for a number of years. It has solid security. It's a good platform. I like it a lot. This is my prime platform to yield farm on Solana. And it happens that their native token has good volume. So you can get very good yields. So this overall is 40% range, 20 on the upside, 20 on the downside. And it will yield you on average 0.3%. If you see these points in time here when it spikes, your yield will go up. It will go roughly to 1% a day or more. But the next day it drops, so it's not going to last. But if you stay in the long run in the pool, this will average out 0.3% a day at the very least. And when the tides turn, that's another reason for you to have a wide range. The tides turn, you got to accumulate on the bottom and then see all of that appreciation in the token price on the way up. And if you have been just farming ORCA and holding it, you accumulated at a cheap price, and then you are in a position that you can sell at an expensive price, right? So this works for all of the pools that I'm going to mention, but this one has been performing extremely well, even with the recent dip on Solana price. ORCA kept going strong in terms of volume even. So it's a good pool to yield farm on. Now the next one will be Hype. Hype is a good token to yield farm on Solana because it also has a ton of volume. See, TVL 185k, volume very close to 400k. Good ratio here, 0.16% fee tier pool. It provides good results, granted that you farm it with a wide enough range. So you look at the chart, you see there's a lot of volatility ongoing. This is overall what, 35% range, 0.4% estimated yield for a span of a day. So right now, if you look at the chart, probably not the best entry because hype is expensive right now. So might not be the best entry, but if you account for that, you can actually farm it. And let's say something like this here on the $25 mark on the downside, or if you want to go a bit more risky on the 35, it seems to have some support here. You can go like so. You have your upside on the current resistance and then a downside on what seems to be a good support level. You can lower it a little bit more if you're more conservative. These are all things you have to fine tune and apply to your own strategy, to your own mentality. But good yielding pool here, hype with USDC. Again, it's another infrastructure token. Hype is a popular token. People use the blockchain, so these are not extremely risky. It's not Bitcoin, but it's still good stuff to hold, or even if you don't want to hold it, to yield farm it, likely it will perform good. So the next one on the list, it's a personal favorite of mine, which is cards. I've been yield farming this pool for probably a year, and I got in at the top. But let me show you here past year. I started yield farming this here at around, September past year. So very close to 1 year. And I got in at around 20 cents price, something like that. So I got this first all-time high, all of this on the way down and all of this on the way up. But the same thing applies to what I just told you about hype. Right now, the price is very close to all-time high. You might want to have a really low downside. Something like this would be 90%. 90 something percent on the downside. So you see, in the event that the token starts bleeding, like here it recovered, but then in the next months it started going down, and this is where it just loses volume, loses interest. People are not yielding to farm it. So you see, there's not all that much activity. The candles are really small, so you will yield less in these time frames, but if you are bullish about the token, and if it turns out to be a good play, you just have to hang in there. And you see, this is a real world assets. Tap a token, it taps into the trading card game industry. There's a lot of money on that business. This brings utility to that on chain, and I like this chart. I like how it keeps going up pretty much organically. But then again, it doesn't mean that we will not see, like in the near future, something like 50% or 60 or 70% on the way down. But if you want to yield farm it, you see that with the current market conditions, 100% range, it will yield 0.3%. I don't think this will be right. I think it will be much lower than that. You'll get 0.1, something like that probably. But if you want to yield farm it for the short term, this has good volume. You can set it like so, like for example here, downside of 15, upside, if you want to have a little exposure to the upside, you can have it on 33, 35. Hopefully it goes up and you make a small profit plus the fees. If it starts going down, you might want to hold and compound back into the pool to see if it still holds this floor, or if the support level goes down to the 10 cents range. But yeah, this one brings good volume. You can yield 0.5% a day with this range, which is 60% roughly speaking. We have 0.8% estimated yield in a day. So if you want to farm it for a week or so, see how it goes, good option as well. Now the next one, it's going to be Zcash. Very good choice. Zcash has a ton of volume. It's the trending, it's the popular privacy coin. You see here, it had this major dip and then boom, it bounced back. Very good if you're yield farming with a wide enough range, very good. So in this case, you see that if you had just looked at the chart and see, okay, there's some support happening here, and you had something like this, it went out of range, but not for long. This was on the 5th of June, and then still on the same day at 8 p.m. it went back into range. So mostly spent not even 24 hours out of range, but it's going to be rough to hold a position like this if you're not bullish about the token, and you see it losing value, going out of range on the downside. So that's why I say yield farming works best if you have long-term mentality and if you're bullish about the token that you are holding. Because if that's the case, you have no issue lowering the downside because you know that you accumulate more at lower prices. It will definitely hurt your yield. You will yield less, but you will accumulate more of the token, okay? So you see this one, if we set up something like, let's go a bit more risky here, 15% or 2020. This brings us 0.5% a day, really good yield. But if I want to go 2020, 0.39, so really good yield, you see, altogether. And if you want to be more conservative, I think it's always best to be more conservative. But if we go like 50% on the downside, this is very close to that, so it's not all that bad of a range. And you still want to have some 20% exposure on the upside, 70% overall, and you get 0.2% a day. But you'll get more. Once you see these green candles, right now the token is going down. It has been doing so for the past week or so. But once the tides turn and you see these green candles, you will see the volume picking up and you will yield more than this. So this can actually yield you more than 0.2% a day. Okay, so this is Zcash, good option also to yield farm even in the short term. Now the next one, it's going to be actually a meme coin, but one that has been yielding very well in the past few months. Useless had its top, it had its bottom, and now it's doing very well once again. So let's zoom out to see a bit better. So you see, it's on a different price range right now. If we look at the bottom here, I yield farmed it all of this time at the bottom, and I have a few meme coins on Solana, yeah, that I'm yield farming just like so. It's going to be boring, but the yield might be there depending on the coin. Just look at the volume to TVL ratio. So this here is a liquidity level, right? You see, and what? Let's see what is the range here. So 100% range, you see, that's doubling your capital with the meme coin, yeah, but I think it's going to be low risk because it's bottomed out and now it's clearly on a different price range. This was a resistance, this resistance, and now resistance became support here. Now it seems to start to trend down. Let's see how it holds once it hits these price levels here once again. But since at around early May, the 10th of May, it entered this new price level. So we're talking about, roughly speaking, 50% range. It will yield you a lot with this type of range. We're talking about something like, let's go here with 25% just to see, just have an idea. You see, 0.7%. The thing is that it might lose its support and fall back down to this price range. If it would be me and I would enter here and I'm bullish about the token, I would have no issue to leave the capital here and then deploy the same or even more in a lower price range, right? And then my capital would go to work there. So hopefully it would just stay in range like so, chop sideways. The downside is that my capital up here will stay idle and I will not earn yield on it. And of course that would also mean that our liquidity would drop substantially in value, like something like 50%. It's not only the fact that the capital is idle, but if you're bullish about the token and you hope for it to recover, but again, it depends on your strategy, how long you want to yield farm it. If you're bullish about it for the long term, of course, lower the downside to account for potential drops where you can accumulate more of such tokens. Remember, your entry definitely plays a huge role in the strategy you should apply. I entered when I thought it was bottomed out and it played well because of that. And also another thing, if this price level doesn't hold and it falls back down, the yield will also drop. Most of these tokens in this list, they have been outperforming Bitcoin. They have been in an uptrend, so the volume is there. You see capital appreciation of your LP position, and you see as well interesting value being generated in fees. But once the tides turn, not only the price drops, but also likely your yield will drop a lot. This is why it is still high risk, it's a meme coin. And yeah, I wouldn't also be surprised that overnight price drops 50%, something like that. Because look at the overall market. We can still find good yields, yeah, but generally speaking, the market is not all that active. Okay, so these are just ideas, but Useless is a good token to yield farm on. It has been performing very well. Even with the Bitcoin dip, you see that it went up to a new price range altogether. And then the last one that I want to mention here is ORCA, which is a very strong performer as well. Right now, you see this yield here. Oh, okay, it's for 30 days, but 24 hours will give you very close to 0.5%. You can get 1% on this pool with a wide range. So OR seems to be on the downtrend right now. So if you want to be more conservative, we can do something like this, and we're talking about 40% range, 1% a day yield, estimated yield. Or if you want to have a bit more exposure on the downside, you can go with 30-30, overall 60% range, 0.7% a day, you see. OR has good volume. It's a good token to yield farm on. If you want to be extra conservative and lower your downside to the recent bottom here back in April, you'll still yield 0.4% a day with exposure to 30% on the upside. So if you're more conservative, yeah, you can lower the upside here to have it like 10% or 5%. I like to do that, always have like 5 or 10% on the upside, even if I predict or I'm thinking the token is going to have a rough time and keep on dipping, because there will be times where the price will go up, and I like to account for that, even if so slightly. So this is another good option.
Alright guys, these have been some of the best performers in the past month or so on Solana. None of them is Bitcoin, of course, so I would still say stick with blue chips, stick with Solana, stick with Bitcoin to yield farm. But if you want a little extra kick on your yield, you can test it out with some of this. Apply the 80-20 Pareto principle, 80% deposit on Solana or on Bitcoin, the blue chips, and then 20% on some of these higher risk assets, just to give a little extra boost to your yield, and go from there. Hope you took value from the video, guys. Drop a comment if you have any questions, or if you have some other high yielding pools that I didn't mention. Curious to know which those are and test them myself. So thank you for watching, guys. Take care, keep exploring crypto. I'll see you in the next one.